Blayne, let's go to Oxford, talk the Ole Miss Rebels. There may not be a team outside of maybe Georgia, but there's going to be few teams out there that have more hype and higher expectations than the Ole Miss Rebels. And it's because of you look at what Lane Kiffin and company did in the transfer portal. This may be Ole Miss's most talented team in school history, literally, on both sides of the football, especially defensively. The Ole Miss folks I've talked to that cover that football program, they say this may be the greatest assemblance of defensive talent they've ever seen in Oxford. Blayne, what this is going to be a great case study of, and I think if you're Lane Kiffin, what you're using this spring for, how do we gel it all together? Right? It's like a clubhouse in baseball. It's like anything else. Football, you deal with this. You can have a bunch of great, talented individuals, but you must have a great team to win a championship. And that's what Ole Miss is trying to do. So I'm really excited to see just how do all of these talented pieces come together. Walter Nolan, Princely Uman Mielen, Juice Wells on the offensive side. I mean, Poopaw Jr. at linebacker. The list goes on and on and on. Just seeing sort of this superstar team and how they mesh is going to be really interesting to follow along and hear Lane Kiffin's comments throughout the spring.
Yeah, it was designed this way. Okay, I talked to Walker Jones, who's the head of the NIL, the Grove Collective over there for Ole Miss, and they knew 2 years ago they had a plan that was, hey, we want to be hitting our peak, hitting our stride when that 12-team playoff format comes into play. It was designed this way. It got kicked up even more after that embarrassing loss at Georgia last year when Lane Kiffin went out and said, hey, we're just simply not good enough. We got to have better personnel. And Walker Jones took that and went to the people out there that support the Grove Collective and say, hey, you see where you want to be? It's going to take money to get there. And they were able to go out and get it done. Lane Kiffin is not afraid to call it what it is. It's actual free agency. These are professional athletes, and he goes out and he gets them. And when you talk about guys like Trey Amos, who was going to be a starting corner for Alabama, that is now going to be a starting corner for Ole Miss, and plus all the guys you talked about up front, Walter Nolan. You had guys like a tackling machine from Indiana and Lewis Moore. I mean, just guys that have played a lot of SEC football, even in special teams or kind of complementary roles, even like Brandon Turnage coming over there to Ole Miss. I mean, a lot of guys that have come in on that defense, and our friend Dave Shoemate says it all the time. It's not your top 22, it's your top 44. Okay. And I think for the first time, Ole Miss has a top 44 that can go toe to toe with just about anybody.
On the offensive side, Blayne, I think filling the void of Quinshon Judkins, that battle at the running back position, I think will be interesting to follow. I mean, outside of that, Jackson Dart returns, Trey Harris on the outside. The guy I'm most excited to hear about, admittedly, and I think, Blayne, this one will probably make some sense just because of my previous experience and some of my previous ties. Juice Wells at the wide receiver position, the South Carolina transfer. How far along is he from his foot injury or supposed foot injury that held him out? It's just what type of role does he take on in that Ole Miss offense? And, of course, I'm excited to follow throughout the fall, and especially when Ole Miss goes to South Carolina. That's going to be an electric factory. But who's the Rebel you're most excited to follow? Again, there's a great number of selections that you can go with here with all the great talent they have in Oxford this spring.
I mean, I really want to see Jackson Dart take that next step as a passer. Okay. I really do. Because he's got more weapons than NATO. Okay. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's ridiculous. He's got more just targets out there that he can throw the ball to. You mentioned Juice Wells. Trey Harris came back. Deion Smith comes from the junior college ranks after he started his career at LSU. You got Aiden Williams and Caden Lee, who should take another step. Caden Prescorn comes back. I mean, Jordan Watkins comes back. It ought to be the best passing attack in the SEC when you factor in Lane Kiffin's calling the plays, and you got a third-year starting quarterback and, plenty of experience and transfer guys that have played as well coming in on the offensive line. Quinshon Judkins moving on, you would think they would be more apt to pass the ball a little bit more anyways after Lane Kiffin has been 58% run last year. He does have Ulysses Bentley and Logan Diggs, but I think when it comes down to it, man, it's all about, okay, how does Jackson Dart take that next step throwing the football?